We are finished with Shakespeare's Macbeth, and we enjoyed reading it. Now we are going to read another work by J.M. Singh. As I said, Singh is a little Shakespeare, and his plays probably some of the best plays in English literature. And William Butler Yeats, respected his work, and I like him very much. And his prose is very beautiful. This week we're going to read the introduction to Singh, and then we can begin part of the play, Brothers to the Sing. It's one act play, but we can't finish it, but probably we can read the beginning part. And so we are going to read it. And the introduction to Sing is very long, and we're going to read it together. And the beginning part, the beginning part of the play will be studied in groups, right? And then we are going to read together. So in the meantime, please send your assignments, homework forward, and while you have some discussion in groups, I'm going to read them. Okay. And after class, be sure to go to room 203 and get your dinner, right? Very delicious kimbap, right? Actually, that's part of the celebration. And as I said, we rated as a top department in Korea, the best English department of English in Korea. So it's a part of celebration, and it has nothing to do with my class, actually. Okay. Also, I got a handout. We are going to read the prose next Sunday, next week, and actually it consists of five parts, but this is the first part, and you can enjoy it. And then we're going to read an essay also about the prose work. I finished an article about the prose work. It's called Aran Islands, and I liked it very much, so I did an essay about it. Okay, let's go to the introduction. I think you got the handout, right? If you go to the Wikipedia dictionary, encyclopedia, you can read a very long essay, and it has a lot of information. But the style, there's no style, because anyone could add something there. So it's there's not any specific style, but of course there are editors, and they make some corrections, but generally it does not have any style, but very useful dictionary. Okay, introduction. You got the handout, right? The other handout, I think. In January 1903, Dublin's Abbey Theatre hosted several nights of exceptional drama, both on and off stage. At a time when many were campaigning to end British colonial rule and to form an independent Irish nation, the premiere of John Milton Synge's The Playboy of the Western World triggered a series of disturbances that crystallized the tensions spreading Irish society and Irish nationalism. More than ever before, Ireland's art looked inseparable from its politics. Very good essay, right? Who is the editor? Is Aidan Arrowsmith, the editor. So it must be written by him. In the century since, Synge has become known as one of the great Irish writers, author of the significant and lasting plays, prose, and poetry collected in this new edition, Playboy. In this new edition, Playboy, the short form, right? The Playboy of the Western world, Playboy. Playboy is now widely regarded as his finest achievement, but in 1907, its brilliance was overshadowed by the audience's outrage. Hissing and booing and stamping and kicking was reported in the Dublin Evening Mail. Performances on subsequent nights were also disrupted in ways that showed increasing creativity. A sudden outbreak of influenza, for example, seemed to hit the audience on January 31st, when, during Act 2, everybody in the pit seemed to be attacked by a violent fit of coughing and sneezing, which lasted for a couple of minutes. In fact, these were highly choreographed political protests. The audience consisted of largely of Catholic nationalists who object to Synge's representation of Irish society, and especially Irish women, as less than the Catholic ideal. For them, the play was an attack on the moral fiber of the Irish people. And as if that were not enough, it also seemed to damage the political bid to present Ireland as a coherent nation. Synge's background itself made him a ready target of suspicion from those whose idea of an Irish nation revolved around the Gaelic and Catholic heritage. Synge was born in Dublin on 16th April 1871 into a large and well-established Protestant family. They were Anglo-Irish, distantly descended from English settlers, rather than Irish, descended from Gaelic-speaking natives. Ascendancy Protestants in Ireland whose power balance was shifting to the Catholic bourgeoisie. The validity of Synge's claim to Irishness, like that of other Anglo-Irish writers such as Yeats, Gregory, was called into question by groups such as the Gaelic League, who measured authentic Irishness in terms of Gaelic heritage and Catholicism. The popular view of the ascendancy as un-Irish is clear in an anonymous poem published in the Dublin Evening Mail and addressed to Mr. Yeats. You come, sir, with your high English ways, your morals of the Cockney cabby, corrupting with unseemly phrase, the Abbey baby. The argument became one about who counted as proper Irish and therefore had the right to represent Ireland or Irishness. Playboy seemed to some a perfect opportunity for political point scoring. When the actor-director, Fay offered the first night audience their money back, their commitment to the protest was clear. Boo, boo. Not good enough for Liverpool or New York, was the enthusiastic response. The play was apparently too inauthentic, even for the plastic package of the diaspora. Arthur Griffiths, the founder of Sinn Féin, was particularly venomous towards Synge, and instantly managed to make an ass of himself. According to Fay, Griffiths was appalled by Synge's inclusion in Playboy of some filthy language. Fay recalled, and he declared that the words shipped, and bloody were not the worst of Synge's verbal offenses. That he, Griffiths, and several friends with him would take the Bible oath that another word, no cheating word, closing word was used. On being confronted with the script, he had to admit, which he did with a very ill grace, that in his eagerness to hear evil, he had misheard a perfectly innocent, commonplace word that sounds a little like it. What is striking is Griffith's determination to be outraged. His further attack on the Abbey Theatre as an anti-Irish institution financed by English money confirms that his argument is about rights of the representation of Irishness. As Fay noted at the time, Synge was not only deemed unqualified for this task, but his brilliant play about the Irish peasantry was without any of the traditional sentiments or illusions that were then so dear to the Irish playgoers. The Anglo-Irish cultural nationalists, Yeats, Gregory, Synge, and others, naturally took a different view of national identity than did the Gaelic Catholics, and the struggle between their competing viewpoints defines the period known as the literary revival. The critic P.D. Moran referred to this era as a battle of two civilizations, and though this binary simplifies a reality in which there were many competing voices on both sides, it's true that the debate often divided along axes of class. The values of the emergent bourgeoisie, Gaelic, Catholic, versus those of the fading ascendancy, Anglo-Irish, and Protestant. Synge's writing is central to this, just as debate is central to his writing. There was, of course, a broad unity of purpose amongst those involved in the revival project: Synge, Yeats, Gregory, Griffiths, Patrick Pearse, who led the East Rising in 1916, and Douglas Hyde, a founder in 1893 of the Gaelic League, joined with many others to play a significant role in Ireland's struggle against British imperial power. Independence was finally achieved in 1921 to 2, but in the decades leading up to it, the cultural nationalists breathed new life into Irish culture, aiming to form unified people nation as the basis for a new political state. All agree that the Irishness they celebrate ought to be pure and authentic, a version of Irishness that predated the malign and corrupting influence of colonialism. Gaelic nationalists such as Hyde, Pearse, Griffiths worked for the revival of a specifically Gaelic culture, focusing particularly on the Irish language. Synge, too, viewed Irish as the natural speech of the people, but like Yeats, he maintained that English was de facto the national language of Irish literature, and on almost everything else, Synge's value system diverged radically from what he saw as the senile and slobbering doctrine of the Gaelic League. The battle over the definition of Irishness structures Synge's writing. His plays, in particular, encode the wider cultural struggle. For him, the version of Irishness promoted by the Gaelic bourgeoisie and particularly by the Gaelic League was a corruption of true Irishness, and one polluted by modern values such as commercialism and organized religion. Is this state for the value system of the Catholic middle classes is clear enough for him, his letters and articles of the period. Scurrility and ignorance and treachery of some of the attacks upon me have rather disgusted me with the middle-class Irish Catholic, he wrote to his friend Stephen McKenna, even just after the Playboy riots. As you know, I have the wildest admiration for the Irish peasants and for the Irish man of known or unknown genius. But between the two, there is an ungodly rock of fat-faced, sturdy-headed swine. Clearly, Synge views the ignorance of these people in terms of class difference, but their bourgeoisie value system was spreading. Britain, response was to look for authentic Irishness as far west as it could go in Ireland. Allegedly, it was Yeats who encouraged Synge to travel to the Aran Islands. They met in Paris, and Yeats talked him into going to the Aran Island. Away from the urban modernity of a fin de siècle Paris, live there as if you were one of the people themselves, Yeats advised. Express life that has never found expression. Between 1898 and 1901, Synge spent several long periods on the islands. He carried this modernity with him in the form of his camera and state-of-the-art typewriter. Yet the work he produced with that cutting-edge technology journal published in 1903 as the Aran Islands, the basis of several later plays and set of photographs, is a celebration and idealization of the primitive and the peasantry. This distance between Synge's urban modernity and the archaicism of Aran, like that between his background of social ascendancy and the peasantry he celebrates, is crucial to an understanding of his work. The Aran Islands, the book, is an extraordinary text and provides a key to the value system underpinning Synge's plays. It is intriguing to compare his view of the Western Islands with his depiction of mainland, both in his plays and in his writings about Wicklow, West Kerry, and Connemara, all of which are included in this volume. Synge's Aran is a romantic utopia. Again, we see the islanders existing in a state of nature, uncorrupted by modernity and enjoying an unpremeditated link with nature at its most awesome. For example, quote from the book Aran Islands. When we set off, it was a brilliant morning of April, and the green glittering waves seemed to toss the canoe among themselves. Yet, as we drew nearer this island, a sudden thunderstorm broke out behind the rocks we were approaching, and lent a momentary tumult to this steel vein of the Atlantic. Synge is presenting us with a pre-Lepsarian Garden of Eden, and does so in a simple yet poetic style, mirroring the qualities he finds there. The islanders employ a pure, essential humanity. More specifically, they embody the essence of Irishness and natural Irish aristocracy. Stepping off the boat onto the island is, for him, like stepping back into the past, reassessing time before modernity and commercialism. Here, the people retain the vitality and passion that comes from a close connection to nature. But when I went there, it was different. Right? You can find anything you can find on the mainland. So, the root of Europe has preserved the agile walk of wild animal, while the general simplicity of their lives has given them many other points of physical perfection. Their way of life has never been acted on by anything much more artificial than the nests and burrows of the creatures that live round them. And they seem, in a certain sense, to approach more nearly to the finer types of our aristocracies, who were born artificially to a natural ideal than to the laborer or citizen, as the wild horse resembles the thoroughbred rather than the hack or cart horse. Tribes of the same natural development are perhaps in civilized. A touch of the refinement of societies is blended with singular effect among the qualities of wild animal. But Synge's vision is too idealistic, that's true. It runs too close to what the critic Edward Said says Orientalism, the fetishization of the primitive other. Synge was far from the only modern man to idealize the pre-modern at this time. Of Paul Gauguin, you know, for example, and the African imagery used by Pablo Picasso's indicate that primitivism was a mainstay of European modernism. In Synge's celebration of the primitive, we can see the familiar alienation of a modern urban European, but we can also detect there the specific desire of an emigre Anglo-Irishman. His vision of Ireland regularly looks like an attempt to paint a picture of Irishness within which he could belong. As he himself puts it, I would have liked to turn to the West and row with them forever. His desire to connect with the islanders seems particularly strong in the photographs that he took on the islands. According to critic Roland Barthes, photography is an umbilical link between the present and the captured past, between here and there. Singh sees the islanders existing in a tense unity with nature and desires that organic wholeness. In this image, facing, Singh's female subjects appear in their traditional dress as older and younger manifestations of Catherine Lee Julian, the mythological symbol of Ireland, whose imagery recurs in the text of the Aran Island. The women's dark clothing merges into the shadows at the base of the stones, and so they appear connected to the landscape, at one with nature. The image is comparable to the Potato Diggers, a painting by revivalist artist Paul Henry, in which, as David Lloyd argues, Henley's female subjects are national icons because they are at one with the land. Here above, Singh's male subject could be the builder of one of the island's distinctive dry stone walls. Again, his subject stands in a tense unity with his environment. The walls of the islands against which the subject leans and with which he appears at one are integral to the landscape. They are made from the same limestone and constitute, in their crazy networks, the key feature of the island's landscape. They seem both natural and natural phenomena and central on art form. And this confusion of nature and culture fascinates Singh wherever he finds it. The islands. In this image, though, we see that such in-betweenness is both the meeting point and the barrier, and it seems, therefore, to represent Singh's own distance from the belonging he desires. The man's folded arms, an expression of amused incomprehension, seem to symbolize this cultural wall between Singh and the island community, which can never be breached. For example, in some ways, these men and women seem strangely far away from me. They have the same emotions that I have, and the animals have, yet I cannot talk to them when there is much to say, more than to the dog that whines beside me in the mountain far. The only play of Singh's set on the islands, Riders to the Sea, 9-3, is a naturalist tragedy of fate, fatality, and fatalism. In this play, the islander's proximity to nature, especially to the sea, is shown also to be a proximity to death. It remains a celebration of the peasantry, but unlike the pastoral vision or soft primitivism visible in works such as Paul Henley's, Singh develops an aesthetic that might be termed hard primitivism. In Owen Panofsky's words, this approach focuses on an almost subhuman existence full of terrible hardships and devoid of comforts. In other words, as a civilized life stripped of its virtues, Singh's Irish utopia is top place of adversity and struggle. It idealizes the primitive and aestheticizes poverty because he finds there the authenticity to set against the bourgeois world on the main line. For example, from another essay, one's first feelings as one comes back among these people and takes place, so to speak, in this noisy procession of fishermen, farmers, women, where nearly everyone is interesting and attractive, is a dread of any reform that would tend to lessen their individuality. It's part of the misfortune of Ireland that nearly all the characteristics which give color and attractiveness to Irish life are bound up with the social condition that is near to penury. The hard primitivism of writers is a celebration of the Aran peasantry, and as such, it confirms rather than disturbs the romantic nationalism prevalent amongst Dublin audiences. If you wish to shake the ideological blinkers from their eyes, Singh would need to shift this play's focus to the mainland. Okay. Okay, let's go to XVI 14, right? Second paragraph, 14. The Shadow of the Glen sings another play, dramatizes the clash between sterile conformity and romantic freedom. The particular context for this, as it be in later plays, is the conservatism of rural Irish society. Singh is intent on showing the effect upon women of arranged marriages, and he presents Nora Burke's experience as typical. Custom dictated that the son could only inherit the land and marry when his father died. A daughter, meanwhile, had little option but to try to find the viable husband before she became too old. And the common result was the betrothal of young women to men aged well into their 50s. This is very common in Ireland. Young women marry older men. Nora's relationship, as was common, lacks love and satisfaction, is devoid of passion of any kind. A husband then is symbolically dead, cold every day since I knew him, and every night. Nora is clear and independent spirit, though. She craves sensation and singing proudly that she hasn't had an affair. Given her dead husband, it is little wonder. Nor is the surprising. Nora is attracted by a sultry stranger who arrives at the cottage with his with his poetic words, his connection with nature, and his air of passion and liberation. Here, as in his other works, Singh identifies the itinerant life of tramps and tinkers with poetry and with freedom. Some of the significance he sees in these figures is outlined in Wicklow. In Shadow, the tramp's connection with nature is an indication of the vitality and fertility that is so lacking at home, and Singh suggests in Catholic society. And Nora's position seems to be presented to the audience as Ireland's. The possibility of romantic liberty exists, but can only be accessed by rejecting conventional society. Okay? Pardon? Absent? Oh, missing? Okay. Okay, let's finish. Okay, then why don't we go to the play style play? Okay. Probably. Why don't you make 4 groups? 4 people. Okay. And then let's look at the play. How many acts are there? Play. Okay. Before that, your essays. I think you're getting better, but Kim Kyung-mi, okay, good, but okay. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Act 1, Scene 1. Okay, that order. And if you say first scene, the first scene. The second scene, you need article. Stories. Those stories. Singular. Those stories. Good. And also verb. Macbeth changes stand out. Macbeth changes are remarkably stand out. You put it right. Okay. So pay attention to the little things, right? And your observation is very good. Very good. Joshua? Good essays. But what's this? Her illness was curable by medicine. I find some typo. Her illness was not curable by medicine. So, kind of sleepy. Yeah, okay. This is very good. Okay. And prophecy. Yeah, okay, the article. The changes in somebody. The changes of somebody. Maybe, but Lady Macbeth in Act 5, Scene 1. Lady Macbeth, article in, okay? Joy, okay. Okay. Oh, when you quote, when the quote is very long, set it off. It's a block quotation, right? And you introduce a sentence, introductory sentence, colon, and then long quote. It's a block quotation. It doesn't need quotation marks, right? Block quotation. And if you quote one line, 2 lines, probably you can incorporate in the sentence, in the text, with quotation marks, okay? Okay. Attitudes. This attitude, or these attitudes, but, right? Even is not a connector, even though. Even is an adverb, right? And most impressive scene, definite article, the most impressive article. And also look is a intransitive. He looks happy. He looked like a very experienced man. Not he is looked. Right? Okay, play, Macbeth. Play is the title of the play, overplay, is italicized. Should be in italics, right? Not the name. Or somebody said Macbeth is novel. It's not a novel. It's play, right? Dialogue, play. Macbeth italicized. And not the Act 4, or in the fourth act. I think right. This apparition makes singular, right? Present makes make, yes. Also, personality has to be, not have to be. Okay. Okay, escapes. Third person singular. You need S. Happen is a intransitive verb. It happened. Something has happened to me, right? Not is happen. Okay. So that's why you have to go through the words in your dictionary. Go through everything. Sometimes one verb could be used transitively or intransitively, but you have to know which one is more idiomatic. Arrive at is what? He arrived at soul. It's a arrive at, but it's a intransitive. But idiomatically, conclusion arrived at sometimes, but very rare, right? So happen is intransitive. This is play, not a poem. Punctuation. American punctuation. Quotation and the sentence, period, closing quotation. That's American. British use is quotation, closing quotation, then period. Right. So also, a quote within a quote is different. In America, you put something, when you put something within a quotation, you use single quotation mark, right? But the other way around, if you follow the British usage. Fly, you have to go through the words. Fly, flew. Huh? Not fly, flew. Are you a kindergartner? Okay. So that's why we have to go through all the words in the dictionary, right? So, good. Okay, riders to the sea. So you did your homework, right? Right? So pass it forward. So while you are reading it in groups, I'm going to read your homework.